Hello! We just completed our lessons on the trial balance, which is step 5 in the basic accounting cycle. So far, we have worked with source documents and used them to post transactions in general journal ledgers. We are ready to begin step 6 of the basic accounting cycle, the 6-column worksheet. The 6-column worksheet is a tool used to create formal financial statements. Financial statements are documents that are accessible to investors, auditors, and other regulatory personnel. Think for a moment, why would it be difficult to use the general ledger accounts to prepare formal financial reports? Did you make any errors when you created the trial balance? Do you think creating a worksheet could be helpful in creating an accurate and professional financial statement? Just some things to think about as we go through this lesson. Now for our goals. The main idea of this lesson is to learn about the 6-column worksheet, which organizes the general ledger account information for financial statements. During the lesson, you will learn the purpose of the 6-column worksheet, what information is needed to prepare the 6-column worksheet, to calculate the net income and net loss, and to complete a 6-column worksheet accurately. There are 5 key terms to know for working with the 6-column worksheet. During previous lessons, we learned about matching principal, net income, and net loss. For this lesson, the new terms are 6-column worksheet and ruling. We will discuss these terms throughout this lesson. So here it is, the 6-column worksheet. There are 5 sections in the worksheet. The heading section, the account name and account number section, the trial balance section, the income statement section, and the balance sheet section. The heading section, indicated by number 1, is familiar to you because it's similar to what we used with the trial balance. It contains the who, the what, and the when. The who being the business name, the what being the document you're working on, so in this case it's a worksheet, and then for the period that's being covered. When you completed your trial balance, it may have been just for a specific date. With your worksheet, it will cover a time frame or a period of months. So for example, it would say the month ended and then the date, or it could be the quarter ended or the year ended. You'll need to make sure you know what time frame you're using. Then if you take a look at the trial balance section, it looks just like the trial balance that you've done before. It's just transferring that information onto a worksheet. Section 4 and Section 5 are what's new to us. Section 4 is the income statement section, and Section 5 is the balance sheet section. We will discuss these sections in detail a little later in the lesson. The trial balance section contains the general ledger balance information for each of the accounts for the end of the period. If an account has a 0 balance, a single line is drawn through the center of the column where the balance would normally be written if there was a balance. There are 3 steps to follow after the section is complete. 1 is to rule the trial balance section, 2 is to total the trial balance section, and 3 is to double rule the trial balance section. Ruling is one of the key terms for this lesson. Ruling just means to draw a line. In accounting, you will draw a single line to indicate that the numbers above it are needing to be added or subtracted. It is a single line that is drawn at the bottom of the columns. You will also do a double rule or double line to indicate that the columns are in balance. Let's take a moment to think back and reflect on some previous lessons. What do you think about a business that has a net loss? What does it tell you about the accounting equation? Please take a few moments to think about this question and come to class prepared to discuss your thoughts. Now on to the new and exciting stuff, completing the balance sheet and income statement section. As you've noticed, there is a trial balance on the worksheet, and there are two additional sections, the balance sheet and the income statement, which are both new to you. The information gathered on the worksheet is later used to create the formal balance sheet and income statement for the period. The important information to remember is that the balance sheet section contains the assets, liabilities, and owner's equity information that you copy over or extend into the balance sheet section. Then there's the income statement section. Those will include the revenue and expenses. And again, you will extend that from the trial balance over to the appropriate columns of the income statement. Okay, now it's time to look at an almost complete 6-column worksheet. You'll notice that all the numbers on the trial balance have been either placed in the income statement column or the balance sheet column. And now we're ready to rule. A rule is a single line that will go below the last set of numbers on the sheet. You'll notice right underneath the utilities expenses, there is a black line straight across that goes from the trial balance debit column all the way through the credit column of the balance sheet. And then you'll also notice that there is a double rule below the numbers on the trial balance column, and that's because those numbers balance. They're the same numbers. One other thing to note is that the numbers, the totals, in the income and balance sheet columns are not in balance. We'll need to work on the net income or net loss in order to balance those columns. To find the net income or net loss, you subtract the total expenses from the total revenues. If the total expenses exceeds or is more than the total revenues, then there is a net loss experienced. If the total revenues exceed the total expenses, then net income is realized. The matching principle is used by managers and financial analysts when comparing expenses to revenue from the same period and as a way to measure profit. These next two slides will show you step by step how to calculate and report net income and or net loss. They are lettered A through G, but we're going to skip ahead and go to the actual document and discuss it in more detail. If you need additional time to review these slides, please press the pause button. Net income and net loss are reported on the income statement and balance sheet sections of the worksheet. If you look where the A is indicated, that is where you will write either net income or net loss. You will leave a blank line above that entry in order to leave room for the totals on the trial balance. Then if you move to B, that is where you will report your net loss or your net income. Net income is reported as a debit on the income statement and as a credit on the balance sheet. Conversely, a net loss is reported on the income statement as a credit and on the balance sheet as a debit. Just remember, for every debit, you always have to have a credit. And that entry will be what creates a balanced worksheet for you. If you try putting it in the wrong column, your totals are not going to match. Please take a few minutes to look at this example. Look at where they drew their single rule lines, where they did their double rule, and whether they indicated a net loss or a net income. So here's an overview, or highlights if you will, of what we've learned today. The steps to preparing a 6-column worksheet. We learned things about entering the headings, where to put the account numbers, names, and balances. We learned about ruling and double ruling and balancing the trial balance, the income statement, and the balance sheet. During our next class, we will begin by looking at the 6-column worksheet as an Excel spreadsheet. First, I will demonstrate how to rule the spreadsheet using Excel, and then you'll have the opportunity to practice in Excel as well. After a brief discussion on the use of Excel, the assignments will be posted, and as always, I will be available to answer questions. Looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow in class.